Welcome to Sticky Med, learning medicine, stick by stick.
Today, we are jumping into the world of diagnostic testing. We're going to tackle two concepts that are, absolutely foundational to medicine, but they always get confused.
Sensitivity and specificity.
That's them. And these are not just, abstract numbers. They're the two fixed performance specs of any given diagnostic test. So our mission today is to really, really clearly pull these two apart for you. They tell us, under perfect lab conditions, how good a test is at separating sick people from healthy people.
And that's so critical to understand because those two numbers, they basically drive the entire strategy of clinical testing.
What do you mean by strategy?
Well, it explains why a doctor might start with one test, a quick one, and then if that comes back positive, follow it up with a totally different, maybe more expensive one. It's not random.
It's a dance.
It's a dance, and it's dictated entirely by sensitivity and specificity.
Okay, let's do this. We're going to use, I think, some really powerful metaphors to make this intuitive right from the start. Let's think about the net versus the filter.
You're right way to frame it.
Let's start with sensitivity. Sensitivity is the net.
Right. And when you design a test to have high sensitivity, you're really driven by one big fear.
Which is?
The fear of missing a case. The goal is just catch everyone. Don't let a single sick person slip by.
Okay, so imagine you're fishing, and you cast this huge net with holes so tiny that nothing can get through. If you have the disease, if you're a fish, this net is going to catch you.
That's your true positive.
Exactly. And to make sure that happens, you're willing to sacrifice a bit of precision.
A lot of precision, sometimes. Because that superfine net doesn't just catch the fish.
Right. It catches everything. Seaweed, old boots, garbage, all that junk.
And that junk, in our world, those are the false positives.
So the big enemy for a sensitive test, the thing it's designed to avoid at all costs, is the false negative.
The fish that gets away, that's the person who actually has the disease, but your test says they're healthy. And in some cases, like with cancer or a serious infection, that is a catastrophic failure.
So we tolerate the seaweed in the boots, the false positives, because letting that one critical fish get away is just, it's a much worse outcome.
Much worse. So you use a sensitive test when your absolute #1 priority is to rule a disease out safely.
Okay, so that's the net. Now let's flip it. What about specificity?
Specificity is the filter.
A completely different job.
Totally different. The filter isn't worried about catching everything. It's worried about being right. It wants to identify only the real fish.
So it's like a high-tech scanner that looks at everything the net pulled in.
Exactly. It looks at the whole catch and says, that's a boot, throw it back. That's seaweed, throw it back. This is a fish, keep it.
So is specificity. The primary fear changes completely.
Right. You're no longer scared of missing a case. You're scared of falsely accusing a healthy person.
The false positive.
That's your new enemy. The filter's whole job is to weed out those false positives, to eliminate the trash that the net caught.
So just to recap that intuition, sensitivity is the screening tool to minimize false negatives, and specificity is the confirmation tool to minimize false positives.
Perfect. That's the foundation.
All right, let's ground this a little more formally because I know you love this part. Everything really starts with that 2x2 contingency table.
It all starts there.
Right.
It's just a simple grid that maps the 4 possible outcomes when you run a test.
You're comparing what's actually true, does the person really have the disease or not, against what the test says.
And you get 4 boxes. True positive and true negative. Those are your successes. The test got it right.
But the errors are what we're trying to manage.
Exactly. You've got the false positive where a healthy person tests positive. That's a type I error. It's a false alarm.
In our analogy, that's the filter messing up and calling a piece of seaweed a fish.
Right. And then you have the false negative where a sick person tests negative. That's a type 2 error, a failure to detect.
The net failing. The fish slipping through.
That's the one.
So let's connect this back. Sensitivity. We said it's the net, obsessed with catching sick people.
And its definition shows that. Sensitivity is only concerned with one part of that 2x2 table, the column of people who actually have the disease.
So it asks a very specific question.
A very specific question. Of all the people who are truly sick, what percentage did our test correctly identify?
That's the true positive rate. It's the true positives divided by everyone who is actually sick.
And think about the ideal. If a test has 100% sensitivity, it means it never, ever has a false negative. It never misses a sick person.
Its enemy, the false negative, has been totally eliminated.
Vanquish.
Okay, now for specificity, the filter. It's obsessed with being precise.
So it flips the focus. It completely ignores the sick people column. It only cares about the people who are actually healthy.
So its question is,
Of all the truly healthy people, what percentage did our test correctly identify as being negative?
the true negative rate.
And again, the ideal state. 100% specificity means the test never produces a false positive. Your filter is perfect. It only keeps the real fish.
And its enemy, the false positive, is so important to fight. Because that's not just a statistic.
Oh, that's a huge clinical event.
You're telling a healthy person they might have something terrible that triggers anxiety, more tests, maybe even, invasive procedures they never needed.
Unnecessary biopsies, treatments. It's a very serious error.
Okay, this is where it gets really practical, I think. How does this all translate into what a doctor actually does? This brings us to those mnemonics.
Yes, the shortcuts. These are what connect the test's fixed specs to its actual job in the clinic.
Let's start with sensitivity. The net. Its job is to catch everyone. So naturally, these are our screening tests.
Right. You use them when the risk of missing a case is just too high.
And the mnemonic for this is SnOUT. SnOUT.
Sensitivity rules SnOUT.
Okay, break that down for us. The logic can feel a little backwards at first.
It can, but think about it. A highly sensitive test is designed to be, well, sensitive. It's easy to set off. The bar for a positive result is very low.
It's trigger happy.
Very trigger happy. So if you take that test and you don't set it off, if you get a negative result, that's incredibly reassuring.
Because it's so hard not to test positive. If you manage to come back clean, you must be really clean.
That's the logic exactly. A negative result from that super sensitive net means you can be almost certain the disease isn't there. It rules it OUT.
I love that. Okay, so now specificity. If sensitive tests are for screening, specific tests must be for
Confirmation?
the filter.
The filter. You only bring this in after a positive screening test. You need to make sure that first positive wasn't just, seaweed.
And the mnemonic here is SPN, SPI.
Specificity rules in N.
And the logic here seems more straightforward.
I think so. A highly specific test is very hard to fool. It has a very high bar for a positive result. It rarely gives false alarms.
So if that test comes back positive,
You can believe it. You can be nearly certain the diagnosis is real. It confidently rules the disease IN.
so we have SnOUT for screening to rule things out and SPIN for confirmation to rule things in. But here's the kicker, right? You can't just have a perfect test that does both.
No, that's the dream. In reality, it's what we call the teeter-totter trade-off.
An engineering problem.
It's a fundamental balancing act. When you improve one, you almost always make the other one worse. It all depends on where you set the cutoff for a positive result.
Okay, let's say we're designing a test, and our main goal is maximum sensitivity. We want to catch everyone.
To do that, you lower the bar. You make it incredibly easy to test positive. The tiniest signal, the slightest hint of the disease, and bam, you're positive.
So sensitivity skyrockets. We catch all the mild cases, all the early cases. We're not missing anyone.
Mission accomplished. But the teeter-totter tips, because that bar is so low, all sorts of normal biological noise starts tripping the alarm.
There's specificity tanks.
It plummets. You get a flood of those scary false positives.
Okay, so now the other way. We want a test we can trust completely. Maximum specificity. A perfect filter.
Now you raise the bar. You make it really, really hard to test positive. The signal has to be loud and clear, no ambiguity.
And your specificity goes through the roof. A positive result is rock solid.
But the teeter-totter tips back. By setting the bar that high, you are now completely missing all the people with mild or early stage disease.
Your sensitivity crashes.
And you get more false negatives. I talked to a lab director once who said that single decision where to set that cutoff is the most agonizing part of test development. You're explicitly choosing which kind of error you're more willing to live with.
So for anyone listening, when you're in a clinical setting, this means that success isn't about finding one perfect test.
Not at all. It's about strategically combining two imperfect ones. And the absolute best example of this is the diagnostic workflow for HIV. It's a perfect illustration of SnOUT and SPIN in action.
Okay, walk us through it.
So step one is always a screening test. Typically something like a fourth-generation ELISA assay. This is your net. It is designed for maximum sensitivity, often over 99.5%.
The goal is just do not miss a case. The consequences are too high.
Precisely. So if that test comes back negative, what do we do?
SnOUT. Sensitivity rules out. You can be very confident that person does not have HIV.
Right. They can go home with peace of mind. But
Right.
because that test is so sensitive, it's going to catch some trash. It will produce a small but significant number of false positives.
And you can't, ethically, you cannot tell someone they have a lifelong illness based only on a screening test.
Never. So if that initial screen is positive, the person immediately moves to step 2, the confirmation test.
Into the filter.
Into the filter. This is a different kind of test, like a Western blot or a differentiation assay, that is optimized for specificity, also over 99.5%.
Its only job is to check the result of the first test, to weed out the false positives.
Imagine that wait for the patient. But if that highly specific, high-bar test also comes back positive,
Then you use FIN. Specificity rules in then.
the diagnosis is confirmed. The probability of 2 totally different, highly accurate tests, both being wrong in the exact same way, is almost 0.
That is such a powerful system. It shows how you can engineer near certainty out of 2 imperfect tools.
That's the art of it.
So just to lock this in for everyone listening, let's do a final summary. Sensitivity is all about the sick column.
Mm-hmm.
Its enemy is the false negative, the fish that gets away. And its job is screening. Remember? Sensitivity rules AUT.
Perfect. And specificity is all about the healthy column. Its enemy is the false positive, the trash in the net. Its job is confirmation.
Remember SPIN, specificity rules NN.
That's it.
So the next time you hear about a new diagnostic test, you won't just hear a number. You'll understand the strategy behind it and the specific fear it was designed to fight.
And that really is the final thought to leave you with. Diagnostic success isn't about this endless hunt for one perfect test. It's really the art of deploying one imperfect test to calm our fear of missing something, and then immediately using another imperfect test to calm our fear of a false alarm.